get to see, just something a little bit funky, a little bit more edgy. I think it really fits in, with our client. As you guys start working in the salon, ever happen to you have those 2 or 3 haircuts in your back pocket? I always say, those that you always are able to rely on and sit back on, and everyone gets the same haircut, just shorter, longer versions. You're like, how can I be able to create something different? I think one of the #1 reasons someone leaves a salon is because they're seeking something new. When a new client comes in, I'm like, what brought you in here? They're like, I'm looking for change, something new. So I know that the hairdresser, a lot of times you guys come out to these shows for some inspiration, correct? Right? Who's with me? I remember going out to hair shows. I'm like, I want some inspiration, right? So what we share with you guys is these techniques and these methods. How can you go back home and recreate this? So think about how Sakashi's cutting that hair. How can you personalize it and make it your own? So taking some of his ideas from that, going back into the salon and being able to recreate that immediately once you come back, because that's what your clients get. Once you come out to the hair show, you come back with all these products, all these cool techniques, and those 2 months, you're just like killing it. And then how do we maintain that all the way through? So it's a great thing about John Paul Mitchell Systems is the education that they provide for us to keep us hungry.
Alright, so I'm really kind of start the haircut. I'm going to cut it quite tight, so I'm cutting it just with my finger right now. So I'm going to dry it a little bit later, but make it a little bit tighter and a little even as well. So side, I'm going to cut it quite tight too. I already cut this side. And then eventually I'm going to go over the ear on that side, but right now just keep it a little bit softer so that way once I blow dry it, so I don't know what's going on that area. So just going to move on to this side. Pretty much as tight as I can cut, just put my finger right here. So and I will over just a little bit in the front, just keeping the length, so I have a more option to work with later. So.
So through this back, just working with vertical sections all the way through. So I just using that crown area. Again, vertical sections, I think about a flat wall. That's what I'm trying to create here. That flat plane that's going to give me more of that triangular geometric shape because of that stronger over direction that I'm having with that. So I'm going to continue that until I get to right behind her ear.
So on the top she already have a quite shorter, so I'm gonna keep all the length she has. I just wanna make it a little bit broken, so as you can see over too, everything kind of quite blunter, so I'm gonna make it a little more piecier, a little more messier kind of feel, so I'm gonna just point us through it. And especially Annie give me a little kind of home loose kind of feel, so I'm gonna make that one as a style too. So I'm gonna put a little more dated of the black thing, a little bit more basically. So I'm going to point her quite aggressively with it too, so I'm going to make it quite piecey. So my starting point is pretty much that red I have. I'm going to start to texture it from here to the end.
So do this again, just swinging it back. I always think about this when I'm cutting hair. I remember as a kid, I grew up, there wasn't like all those Nintendos and PlayStations that we have nowadays. We had to figure out a way to entertain ourselves. And just playing out with a slingshot, I remember just me being older, that I remember the rules. If I pulled an object towards me on a slingshot, I knew that it would go further away from me. So the same principle happens with hair. I know that the stronger I swing and I pull that hair towards me, the longer it's going to get towards the opposite side, or the heavier it's going to get. So those are key things, the indicators that gives me as far as, how long do I want this to be? Do I want it to be asymmetrical? So then maybe my center point is going to be here, and I over-direct everything towards the center, and on the opposite side, you travel with that guide. So automatically, that gives you some asymmetry. And a lot of times you're figuring out, how can I be asymmetrical? And you try to make it very complex. And it could be the simplest thing as shifting off your center section a little bit on the head shape. Done. Same approach that you always done for your haircut, just something different for your guest.
So just cutting through the top area. So even back area, I cut everything blunt and back. So this area gets a little bit heavy, a little bit too blunt and feel. So I want to break up the line a little bit with a point cut. So when I do point cut too, I kind of they close the roots, and then once I go through it, I'm going to shift my finger just a little bit towards the end and then cut into it so my texture gets skinny on the end.
So again, through this back area, working the same. If you notice, my body position stayed in the same manner. The only difference that I'm now pushing the hair towards that center, so it's a lot easier for me to cut from the bottom up than cut from the top to the bottom. So standing in the right body position all the time is going to give us that end result.
So at this point, I just want to dry her real quick, and then I want to dry her a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to cut her. Yeah, I'm going to finish her. Yeah, just give me dry her.
Beautiful. What do you guys think about that color? Anya did an awesome job on that. You know, I find myself the same way. A lot of times as you work behind the chair, like, what could I do differently? And it's the simplicity of that, of just going in at her base, getting it a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter, putting in some reds, and it just fades out into that black, into that darker tone all the way throughout her hair. So, you know, think back in the salon, like, you know, for that guest that comes in with short hair and you're thinking about how can I create a different color technique, but you don't want it to look patchy. Right? Ever happen to you? Put in those foils. So that's, you know, just different methods of that grown out look. On the opposite, we have that ombre feel that's coming in now that we have that, you know, darker out into that lighter. On this, we have the opposite. We have that lighter coming out into that darker hair. So it's the options against that you guys have, and it's not about limiting yourself. It's, you know, just expanding yourself out from that.
So I just quickly dry her hair. So on the front I have a texture like this, so you can see kind of has a black band to it. So I'm going to texture it a little bit more so we get to see through the lead a little bit more. But before I'm doing that, I'm going to start to work in the back area. So I'm going to go a little bit tighter, a little more from lead to kind of grungy kind of feel. So I'm going to scissors over a little bit. But I don't want to cut it too harsh either, so I'm going to use the point of my scissors and then just scissors over all the way. So still point cut to it, but I'm going to cut it still quite tight. So check that balance. All the way to the top.
So once I'm done here with our model, what we're going to work with is just a little bit of that curl. So thinking about that curl friend that we have in our life, 55% of the population has wavy to curly hair. So how can we start addressing that wavy to curly hair? So we have in our curling category, we do have a sulfate-free shampoo that's going to give you, it's also going to detangle at the same time. So it's called spring-loaded. So for that guest that comes in that has that curly hair, she wants to wash her hair out, but at the same time control some of that frizz, it's a great option for it. For styling, what we're going to use for her is going to be a leave-in treatment that we have. That's going to give her just a little bit of more flexibility. I don't want any crunch in her hair, but I do want to enhance some of that curl. So that's going to be the option that we're going to utilize to be able to curl up her hair.
So once I get to the side, I'm going to cut it quite flat on the side, but still keeping kind of a little bit soft on the edge. So I'm going to put my scissors in it and then put here on my comb. And I'm going to lift a little bit so that way I can keep the edge a little bit softer. So something like that. I'm going to take a little soft section on the side so that I can just cut the underneath first. So I'm not going to disconnect the top, but I don't want to get a solid line, so I just want to break into the bottom first, a little bit more piece here. Then I'm going to connect through the top area. So. This looks decent, so I'm just going to do the back a little bit more. to the other side. So I'm going to lift that hair with a comb.
So here with our model, I'm going to leave out this. I want to see that when it's dried out to be able to remove some of that length. If you guys get to see, just working with, you know, a nice mouthfeel on the left side. A lot from that shorter, just slightly getting longer. A little bit of a shorter layer through that top, so that way when we come out with that nice curl that she likes to curl her hair when she came in, I thought she had a beautiful curl. So it's gonna give her just, you know, that nice strong structure feel through the back, just giving her some volume as this scrunch starts to come up. Then she'll have just that little peekaboo piece that's gonna be just that longer piece, you know, just something fun a lot of times that we have within a haircut.
Finishing up here. So I just kind of connect to the back corner right now. And just use the bottom just a little bit. And once you get to the length a little bit longer, then I'm going to point cut to it a little bit more to just make it a little bit more texture through the top area. Especially doing those two-tone dark on the ends, light on the bottom, I kind of have to cut it quite even, so otherwise that black kind of gets uneven. So that's kind of like my guide right now. She has a lot of cutting in the back area, so I'm going to make it a little bit softer, a little more evenish. So whenever the hair kind of sticks out, I'm going to just get rid of that. So these guys kind of push the hair up. So and this side she don't have at all, so I'm just going to clean up the underneath a little. I'm going to make the hairline a little softer.
So I want to give out some stuff away. What I have here in my hands is gold. This is dry wash. This is part of our newest edition. What's so great about this is that it's lightweight, it is colorless. So for that guest that comes in that you don't want to blow dry your hair, you got that beautiful blow dry and you're going out to the gym, right? Ever happen to you women? Long hair, you go out to the gym and you're like, oh my God, I want to maintain that, but you got a nice little sweat on that. Dry wash is going to be your best bet for it. Also, what's going to do for you is that a lot of times you think about the longevity in your color. How can I preserve my color? Well, the less you wash your hair, the more you preserve your color. So dry wash is a great option for it. Another tip that I want to give you guys is that it's also going to work for your male clientele. For those guys that have very thin hair and they want to boost it up and get a little bit more volume, where it's most needed at the base or at that root area, dry wash is going to be that option for you. So I want to give some of these out, but how could I do this? Who remembers my first model when I brought out and we had the color formulation for it that I used on the back? So it was two different colors that we utilized. What was it? It was a number. It goes after 9, before 11, 10, and then it's the first letter of the alphabet. 10. Hey, awesome! So you want to come up? I want to give you some of this dry wash. And I'd love to give you some, because I know that you could utilize that. So this is part of our newest edition. I think it's just so important, you know, as we start to go out, that it is, thank you very much, that it is colorless. So from that base, it's going to give us that lift that a lot of times we are seeking. And at the same time, just think about how you could preserve out your color by washing your hair just a little bit less.